Our first guest tonight has a new book out this month, which walks readers through the specific obstacles blocking border security. It is titled The Deadly Path: How Operation Fast and Furious and Bad Lawyers Armed Mexican Cartels. His name is Peter Forcelli, and in addition to being an author, he is the retired ATF Deputy Assistant Director and a former NYPD homicide detective. And he joins us now. Peter, thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Great, I'm happy to have you here. So Democrats obviously ignored the failures of Operation Fast and Furious, and many Republicans view it as a scandal from under the Obama administration and therefore just as a relic of the past. But do you think that we're still dealing with those ramifications even today?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Listen, the firearms that were trafficked as part of that investigation, they're not biodegradable. They're not something that's going to rot. They're not something that's going to biodegrade. They'll be there until they're recovered at crime scenes. And look, I've heard of the crime scenes. Obviously, we all know about Brian Terry's murder back in 2010 in December. But I know of instances where people were killed, police officers included. I know of instances where 50 caliber rifles that were trafficked as part of that case had downed Mexican military helicopters. And what's frightening is with the videos that you showed earlier about what's happening at our border, nothing says that some of those firearms can't be pointed at members of our military or law enforcement who are there trying to secure the border from what's clearly an invasion. That this happened yesterday, where our soldiers were attacked while trying to protect our border is infuriating and frightening, actually, when you think about what's happening in other parts of the world and the violence that's happening right now in Mexico, which has really gone unabated.
It really has. And so you also were the whistleblower, right, for Operation Fast and Furious back in 2007. You testified before Congress. What did you tell congressional lawmakers, and were they receptive to what you had to say about how, the Obama administration walking those guns, not checking where they went, how that has aided and abetted so many cartel and other violent gang members south of the border, and how that's affecting us now north of it?
Well, I mean, interestingly, obviously it depends on which side of Congress you talk about. The Republicans, especially Senator Grassley, was very supportive, as was the chairman of the Oversight Committee at the time was Darrell Issa. He was also supportive. The Democrats weren't as supportive because they viewed my testimony as damaging to the Obama administration. But look, the reality is, I blew the whistle because another gentleman, Special Agent John Dodson, had come forward. And for years, we were trying to get firearms traffickers and, in one instance, a grenade trafficker prosecuted in the state of Arizona. And the U.S. Attorney's Office kept passing the buck. And then when John Dodson blew the whistle, there were rumblings that they were going to indict him. And that's why I approached Congress, because I thought it was unconscionable that here they were letting guns fall into the hands of people who were butchering other human beings south of the border. Some of those guns were being used in the United States. One was used to kill a Border Patrol agent. And all they really cared to do was to bury the truths. And the reality is Brian Terry's family, and Brian Terry was a military veteran. He was a Border Patrol member, but he also was a member of BORTAC, which is their elite unit. We saw what happened in Uvalde, for example, with that school shooting. When all those police officers were posted there doing nothing, a Border Patrol agent from BORTAC blasted past them, went in and resolved that situation. And Brian Terry was from that unit. And his family was wonderful people, like true, just good Americans. And they were never told the truth, which is actually one of the things that inspired me to write the book, because they deserve to know what happened. But the reality is the people with the most blood on their hands in that scandal were never held to account. So I decided it was time to tell the truth, all fact-based, all stuff I personally witnessed or have witnesses to, nothing that's based on conjecture or supposition. It's all stuff that I personally saw and lived through, unfortunately.
And I'm so happy that you wrote this book and that you are bringing it all to light. So what do you hope that readers take away from it?
Well, there's a few things, actually. One is government officials who make mistakes need to own those mistakes and need to be held accountable. The other thing is you hear people scream all the time about the need for additional gun laws. Reading this book, you'll see that we had plenty of gun laws and an explosive trafficking law, actually, that could have been utilized that weren't. So, I mean, it falls on deaf ears, I think, when you want to ask for more gun laws and you're not prosecuting what's already there. And you're basically implementing things that would really just restrict law-abiding Americans from possessing firearms more so than holding criminals accountable for misusing them.